Welcome to All the Right Marketing, where we talk with business owners and industry leaders about marketing their programs and products. Our guests share tips that can help anyone in the book industry, whether you're a librarian, a bookseller, author, or publisher. The truth of the matter here is that the advice coming out of these conversations are for creative marketing across industries. So today we have Angela Engel, who is an entrepreneur and book publishing expert with over 20 years of experience in this industry. After working for 20 years in publishing with other major publishing companies, including Chronicle Books, 10 Speed Press, Cameron and Company, Dwell Studio, and Moleskine, I could just stop there and have a conversation about that. Angela is on a mission, I love this, to disrupt the publishing industry by giving budding authors more agency and authority in the publishing process. And she's going to tell us about that. As founder of the Collective Book Studio, she provides authors the support they need to get a book out into the world. Welcome, Angela.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Maria, I love the intro. You make me smile.
Well, we have fun talking. So this is just a casual conversation, but let's start by sharing with everyone. First of all, we have to share with everybody something. During the quarantine, you worked with your community to fund a project with masks, and tell us a little bit about that, because that was crazy.
They're actually PPE medical face shields. The emergency face shields you see when you go, honestly, ER and ICU docs use in major hospital systems, as well as clinics and nurses, surgeons, whatever. Those were, people were, not only we were talking about N95s being of shortage, but you needed an N95 and then you needed a medical face shield, right? Yeah. You needed the PPE product. So yes, my closest friend since 5 years old, he is an ER ICU doc at Oakland Kaiser. And when the Princess Cruise was landing, I'm out here in Oakland, it was like, oh my goodness, this is really real. And then my family's in New York. A lot of my colleagues, as you know, in publishing, the Dwell Studio is based in out in New York. I went to New York all the time. And when I was watching what was happening in New York, I just was like, okay, I got to do something here. And so, yeah, my husband and I were both small business owners. And imagine, my husband is in the restaurant, in the food and wine business, in COVID, in March. Okay. And I asked my husband, I go, honey, and I'm in publishing. Okay. We're in two totally okay, we're not in high tech. And I say, honey, I need us to wire out of our business account $6,000 to DuPont in Wisconsin and buy PPE, buy Mylar to make medical face shields. And he was like, what? He's not even coming home. He's figuring out the PPP loans and all his restaurants and He's like, what? And I was like, it's for Uncle Todd. We got to save Uncle Todd. And he was like, all right. And I had networked because I'm in a really great, I'm in small business, right? Yeah. Women in small business. We network with a wonderful friend who's a fabricator here in Oakland. And she was like, and women, right? Where it was like Rosie the Riveter, because she was like, I don't want to put my sewer out of work, Angela. I don't want to put her out of work.
This is an awesome story.
They're like a pull. I know we're not even talking about book publishing, but it is an awesome story. How do we weave this in of how my marketing strength? I can talk about that. So
well, she says, this is amazing. Go ahead. So what did she say?
She said, okay, we're going to need to raise at first we were like, okay, we'll make a few and we'll raise $6,000 and save my friends and my doctor friends and whatever. And then we realized how everything is crazy. And she's like, Angela, we need $6,000. And I think if we do that, we can make about 10,000 face shields. And so what I am, right, I'm in sales, marketing, and business development. So I ran a budget and I was like, we'll launch a GoFundMe campaign. And she's like, I just had to take this leap of faith in my heart. I had to believe that $6,000 would come back to me and more. Mm-hmm. And it did. We raised actually over $36,000 and we were able to pay the makers for their labor. I reached out to San Francisco Labor Union and they gave us $5,000 in back pay. so that we could basically make sure that these people were not having to go completely on full unemployment. So I love this. You even asked this about my bio, and I I'm starting another project right now. It's launching in July. A little cute gift book that we're hoping that people like you, people like in the marketing, people in the publishing industry are going to like wrap their arms around, because we're not going to hire this huge fancy PR campaign, right? Agency for it. We're going to have to guerrilla market, because we want to give 50% of the net back to UCSF, Oakland Children's Hospital. And we ran an I Fund Women campaign because it's expensive, as we know, to produce books, right? We have to hire designers, we have to hire technical production people, we have to do proofing, we have to, to make it's product making.
So tell me the name of the book.
Awesome. Okay. It's Eat Cake for Breakfast and 99 Other Small Acts of Happiness. And it's written and illustrated by Viola Sutanto. And it's an incredible, inspired because of her daughter's rare, she had this rare condition, and she was being treated at UCSF, and we want to do a give back. And her and I were on a walk at the beginning of this pandemic, while I was doing the face shields. This is the story. And she was like, Angela, I'm an entrepreneur. She has an amazing bag company. But she's like, I don't understand books. I don't market. I don't sell. I don't have the distribution. And you do. And I said, well, let's do it. I just funded a GoFund. We did a GoFundMe. If you raise the money with I Fund Women, we can produce this book. And then if we get the production and everything covered, we easily can give back 50% of the proceeds back to UCSF.
Okay, this is awesome. And I eat tacos for breakfast. It's my favorite breakfast. So I know already, like, that would be a great gift for my team members for like holidays.
Yes. Okay. And it even says on the back of the book, a portion of the proceeds from book sales will be donated to the UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital Foundation.
That's awesome. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. Is it on your website already?
Yeah, and I'm going to have like a really fun video that we're creating and all of this stuff. So we can talk about marketing, like whether that, what we're going to be doing, which we should talk about here in this dialogue, is the importance when you're doing visual work, right? Whether that be a children's book or something cute and little, like this gift book that really, I could see a young person who's 11 or 12 wanting to pick this up. Her daughter is around, I believe in 5th or 6th grade.
Okay.
6th grade, I think it.
So I have to pause real quick, because so the first story you told us about the shields, and then this story about Eat Cake for Breakfast, both of them, number one, have passion and purpose behind it. So it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to help somebody produce a book about how to train a dog. But you have a personal connection to the first story, and then a passion. Like, you saw this woman's heart, you saw what she was going through, you saw what she wanted to do. So there's passion in the project, and then all this networking. So how do you use both of those? Can you tell us a little bit about your company, and can you tell us how you use passion and networking in your company now? Remind me. Edit this out, Josh.
The Collective Book Studio. We're going to edit this, Jen.
Yeah. So how do you use passion and networking in your company, the Collective Book Studio?
Oh, this is a great question that I actually have never been asked for before. So this is a first. And I love it. I do think there is something to be said about the power of a network. The way that we build community and authentic relationships is actually often with existing relationships, right? Like, so when I think about my company and the staff and the caliber of staff that I have, it's because of the strong relationships I've made throughout my career. Dean Burrell is our director of managing ed. I met him at Chronicle Books over 15 plus years ago, right? Elizabeth Saki, who's our amazing at our submissions and like figures out really, Angela, where we're going to put this on our list, and as director of operations. Her and I met each other at Chronicle Books, right? We were both colleagues. She was doing sub rights and selling to Borders at the time. These are the strong relationships that I have built in my career. So when I founded the Collective Book Studio, I was able to already talk to some of my own network. It wasn't like, okay, all of a sudden I'm like launching a website and here I am. It was really, actually, I founded the company based on talking to people, based on my idea and saying to people, do we think this will work? Like, because I just said this in a PW article, as you mentioned before we started talking in April. I wrote about the fact that only a disruptor, an insider like me and my team can really disrupt an industry. And I actually believe that because look, self-publishing is here to stay. We gotta I've been in traditional for over 20 years and I gotta tell my lovely people out there, we're good. We know what we do. We are editors, we're designers, we're typographers, we're illustrators. We're good at what we do, librarians, booksellers, but self-publishing, like is a symphony out there. It's a madhouse. And unless we really talk about how we're going to really kind of think about how we're going to create, how we're going to offer people sort of a different access into publishing, I worry, honestly, the art of the book is is kind of getting a little destroyed. So I personally am on this mission, right? I'm on this mission to say there's an art form to the book.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can collect editors, typographers, designers, thinkers within our traditional space and offer an idea outside to people, entrepreneurs, restaurants, brands, just creative human beings, right? Other illustrators who want to be more active in their creative process, who want to have a higher percent of the royalties, who want to invest in their work, who don't feel they would like to be acquired for life or 70 plus years. That's what I'm offering at the Collective Book Studio.
But you're offering it with, and I'm trying to think of the word. It's not credibility, but you're keeping the what's the word? You're keeping the credibility of the book, or you're keeping
Oh yeah. And we're also very selective. So we're still a traditional house in a lot of ways. Like we still have a submissions process. We still are very true to what our brand is, which is lifestyle, children's gift, food and wine, self-help, career development. I'm not into novels or YA or memoir or really hardcore kind of educational business. That is not what we do. We're trade. And we get those submissions and we're just kind, but it's not us. And I think that we truly are a team of people that are just offering access, because we also are able to publish a book within 15 to 18 months. And that's just a different mindset, right? Look, Viola, some people will come to us and pay us a great fee, but Viola is a great example of, she ran an I Fund Women campaign and used that in order to fuel this whole concept, this whole idea that can, and working with our editors, working with our designers to create something that we feel is sustainable within them and can compete with any of the big five or any of the really great books out there from some of my favorite independent publishing, larger independents like Abrams, Workman, or Chronicle.
It sounds like you work a lot with partnerships and collaborations then too, when you're doing your marketing and you're doing your book releases and you're trying to get books out into the world. Like you said, I'm hoping that creatives will wrap their arms around this book and take this book and get it out into the world. So you're really working with partnerships. And I think oftentimes people in the book industry, we're looking at advertising, we're looking at the next trade show, we're looking at the next conference. But what about looking at people out in the community, different like hospitals and different gift shops that, or not gift shops, but different, like I'm looking at organizations like a hospital or, like a nonprofit or something like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I'm always thinking outside of the box that way, whether it be hotels in the hospitality industry. We're actually developing a whole awesome series for a travel ambassador, and she called me right when COVID hit, and she got my name, and she's smart. I mean, her name is Jordan Rhodes, and she's a founder of Glimpse Guides. And she was like, we're going to want to open up. So I'm going to spend this year, instead of like curling up in my hole, right? Because her business, imagine the travel industry.
Yeah.
She spent this year developing these beautiful, beautiful guides, right? When we're starting,
Cool.
and they're full color, and they're, they're gorgeous. And I think about this forethought she had, right? Because she called me and she was like, I'm not worried about the trade, because a trade publisher in the time March, they are not going to put on a list a travel book. Yeah. Let's be honest. Yeah. Okay. No way. So she's like, I don't need the trade. I'm going to do this on my own. And so it's not on the trade. It's not being but she's so smart. She's got a built-in network, right, of hotels and hospitality. And they're going to be begging for this because nothing else is out there. And the media, and by the time we get it, which is fall 2021, we are going to be literally the first on the market, right? This is marketing. The first on the market with a brand new, gorgeous, almost 200-page, beautiful journal that's like got Pantone of these beautiful purples and foil stamping. And I have to tell you, bravo to Jordan.
Oh my
goodness. Bravo to Dean Burrell and my entire team for working on it.
And you know what? People, the community, we are all going to be at the airports, hopefully come 2021, and we're going to be like, take me away.
Totally. I'm going to go look in I'm going to give you the titles in the show notes.
I love it.
We may was like the places to go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We're working on 2 more, so we'll have 4 total. And then we're also doing a journal too for people.
So if people,
cool. So if you don't, we're also creating a travel journal for her. So like, instead, you don't have to go to a specific place, but what you just said, right? You might pick up her travel journal with a pocket and a place to save all your receipts, because you're just dying to go, I don't know, even to South Carolina and sit on the beach.
Exactly. So listeners, I know you're going to want to follow up with this one. So we're going to have a lot in the show notes. And Angela, I want to know, how can people, find out more? Where can they go? Where on social media should we be looking? I will say that I'm going to put the newsletter sign up in the show notes, because you were talking about your newsletter goes out twice a month, and it sounds like it's chock full of information and what is happening with your studio. So tell us a little bit more on where we can find, where on social media are you?
So we're just at the Collective Book Studio, and then we're also at thecollectivebook.studio. I don't have a Twitter account yet. I know we need one. And LinkedIn, I'm very active, actually, mostly, I mean, my company, but also as Angela Engel, I am definitely active as an entrepreneur. I do think, like, whoever's listening, if you have a company, it's really good to put yourself out there, especially right now, and kind of talk about, like, you'll see, I am also really active on my blog, on my journal, and I write a lot about all the things I really care about. There's something, my first blog post I still love, which is over 2 years ago, which is, you need people, not an interface.
Ooh.
And I would recommend that if people can listen to the very first blog post I wrote the importance of bookstores. I wrote the importance of browsing. I do have to stay optimistic and kind of think about that this online environment we've been living in, there's something to be said when we make personal connections. And that's how my company has grown tremendously. And that kind of authentic relationships that we create and that networking, I actually think can happen in book sales.
Yeah. And that's how you and I met. We met through Suhani, who is also a publisher. And she said, I think you need to meet Maria. And we connected. And I'm so thankful that we did.
Yeah. Am I allowed to ask you, I know we want to keep these really short, but we didn't really dive into children's or picture books. And I know that you're so seasoned, and I'd love to, talk a tiny bit in your experience or our experience and just like picture book marketing specifically in the book blogger world, or what you've been, what we can kind of contribute there, because I know you're such a wealth of knowledge there, Maria.
So keep going with the podcast, or end the podcast but keep talking?
No, I would love to keep going if you're allowed to. I don't know how long you're allowed to.
Yeah. Okay. So
okay, good. I don't know how long your podcasts are. So, but I think this is a good, I want to ask you the question. I think this is a good question for the podcast.
I like this. Yeah. So as far as what we do for children's book marketing, you have to remember who your audience is. And although our audience truly is children, hopefully children ages, 4 to 10, which is our target market, they're not online purchasing their own books. So you have to then pivot and say, okay, we're really actually marketing to parents, caregivers, educators, right? So those are the people who are buying the books for our audience. So that's what we do. We spend a lot of time working with educational influencers. So teachers who are on Instagram, that's our one kind of space that we're spend our time on, and who not just have these large followings, but who have an engaged following. So they put content out there and their community asks questions and that educator gets back with them. So we know that their community likes, and trusts that educational influencer. So if that influencer says, I've got this new book, I want to introduce you to it, their audience is like, we know, like, and trust you. You give us a lot of great content. We're going to buy that book. And so those are the people that we develop relationships with. And how do we develop those relationships? We're active on social media communicating with them. So if they share a lesson plan that's about empathy, we're commenting, hey, we have a book about empathy. Do you think that would work with this? Or if they have a lesson plan on kindness and we don't quite understand where to find it, we'll ask them that. So just kind of developing relationships online before we actually pitch them and say, will you partner with us in our release? So that's a big part of our marketing.
Oh, that is so cool. And what you make me really realize is that's also your background. So you're networking naturally because you were a teacher, correct?
I was, yeah, good memory. Yeah. So I was in the classroom for 12 years. So, and I know that as a parent too, if a teacher recommends something and you value that teacher, most likely you're going to take that teacher's recommendation. So.
Correct. I just, we started off at the power of the network. And so if you think about your natural niche where you're publishing into and where you found the most success is actually a place where you naturally can network because of your own experience. And I think about that when people say to me what I'm really good at. We have a book in Target. We're a brand new company right now. And we have a title, Parenting with Sandy Joy, at a Mother's Day and in store.
Oh,
and people's awesome. Like, oh, how did you do that? And I'm like, because that is what I know how to do, right? That's my network. I like breathe and live Target. I've been selling to them for so long. So you tap into how you publish, how you do. That's my biggest advice. When you market, when you're published, I always say to people, when you can create and develop, you have to develop a brand, right? Every single small independent publishing, or if we were a yoga mat company, develop your brand, your look, and then people will start to know and trust and believe that you're really able to understand the end consumer, because that's the successful brands do.
Yeah, stick to it too. We've had people come to us with grandiose ideas like, we want to start a series with this. And I've had people who've come to me and they've written for Disney and they've pitched us. And another person who has a very popular book out into the world pitched our company and was like, I have this idea. But I'm like, no, we only publish realistic fiction and we're not deviating from that. Like, our books have real kids who are representative of the world today. And we're not going to, see the glimmering light over here and be like, oh, we're taking a detour. So we do also stick to what we're passionate about and our mission. So I think that's important too.
I do too. I think this is really key in people who are listening, Maria, because I think that's what's made you successful in a really hard market, like children's publishing, independent children's publishing. Look, I publish in children's, and most of my children's lists, unlike the adult, I'm taking more of a traditional risk. So I get it. And it is like, we have a book on our list that where it's more traditional. It's called Little Loon, where, what does traditional mean? It might not be these huge advances because we can't do all of that, but you're still taking a lot of risk in art directing and production and all of that. And bravo and hats to staying in our lane, right? Because we have to network and have to understand what we publish so that the book is actually successful, because production of children's and picture books is so expensive to do that you can't afford to sit on a lot of inventory.
No, you can't. You cannot. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, you know where to find Angela. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time, and come back next Tuesday because we are releasing episodes every Tuesday. Thanks, everyone.